High FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
Can we please talk something sensible and move across to our first guest of the morning, well, his evening. But I think let's talk about, well, I'm just going to say let's talk about things sensible, but then I don't know if the subject matter is sensible at all, but a very, very good morning or very good evening to John Day. He is an attorney in the United States. John, how are you? Hope you are well.
Good to be with you. Good morning to you, Howard.
So we were talking about things that we've never been tempted to do. So for me, it's definitely bungee jumping, never been tempted, cold plunges, and wearing Crocs. Those are my things.
That's my top three, Howard. How did you know that? That's exactly
really
what,
okay. Well,
absolutely. I can't agree with you more. I mean. So I'm glad we think alike on that.
Definitely. Let's see if we think alike on the subject that we wanted to chat to you about, which is quite interesting because President Donald Trump media company has launched a premium service called Truth API, offering institutional subscribers early access to posts published on Truth Social. So for fees reportedly reaching $100,000 a month. Please just talk to me about this.
So his critics are saying this is a blatant example of paying, I guess, $100,000 a month to get early access. It's there in the view of the critics, it's insider trading at its worst because apparently it doesn't specify. The new service doesn't specify that you get access to what Donald Trump is thinking or saying or doing early. But the reality is he uses Truth Social to make, significant pronouncements. I mean, that is what the avenue, that is the channel that he uses. And so critics are saying this is just blatant insider trading because corporations, companies, individuals can pay, I guess, $100,000 US for early access to see what he's going to say. You can imagine, I think in the eyes of critics, say you're in the oil business and you get early access to something that Donald Trump is posting about the war in Iran or some Strait of Hormuz, something that would affect the price of oil significantly, and you're getting early access to it by paying $100,000 US to his company, and so you get to benefit. I mean, there's a reason insider trading is illegal because the idea is to cut down on people who have inside information benefiting at the expense of the rest of us. So that's what the critics are saying. But you know what? Donald Trump doesn't often pay attention to what the critics are saying.
Is there a way, could somebody raise an objection to this?
Yeah, and some U.S. Democratic senators have done so. They're asking for an investigation by our Securities and Exchange Commission into whether it is insider trading. It does raise questions about, well, if President Trump is making official announcements or giving insight into what he's thinking, there are platforms where you can access, you can get early information from other social media platforms. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. The problem in the eyes of his critics are that this is the President of the United States. This isn't just the CEO of some other company or someone who doesn't have. Everything he says and does is going to influence the markets in one way or the other. It seems like. So,
they do have a point. They do. There is a. It's so interesting because it's both. On the one hand, if anybody's got access to it, obviously just with financial constraints, then you could argue it's an open playing field. It's not as though only Republicans have access to it. Everybody does, provided you can afford it. Obviously, there are not many people, but it's really about institutions that will pay $100,000 a month. I mean, that's what I also find so interesting. It's not as though he made it accessible for people. So even if it was expensive, even if it was $5,000 or $10,000 a month, which is a lot of money for what this is, that you could argue that it's everybody has access, but $100,000 a month is an extreme.
Right. It's a self-selective group of individuals and companies. It's not as if, you and I can go and pay 10 US dollars and get early access and use that to somehow, day trade on the markets and make some money or something like that. And again, the criticism is that the money's going into the $100,000, what if that's what it is, $100,000 fee, going into the President Trump's business pockets. And so he's benefiting from selling access, early access to what he's going to say. And then, the claim is that the markets are going to be manipulated by this insider trading. I mean, it's in the eyes of his critics, it's more ammunition for the idea that he is monetizing the presidency in a way that's never been done before. Although he had an interesting comment the other day. He said, well, and I think historians have said this isn't true, but he said when George Washington was our first president, he had two desks in his office, one for his presidential work and one for his business work. And so he was allowed to have a profitable business on the side. I mean, I think he was a plantation owner in Virginia, so the business was
It's very different.
That's very different. But still, the argument against it is that it's insider trading. It's the potential for market manipulation, and it monetizes the office of the presidency. At the end of the day, Trump doesn't care.
What do you think?
I think it's, insider trading is insidious because it does benefit the sort of the connected, the rich, the powerful, the people who can, who are connected to those in those ways to say Wall Street information, government information. I mean, it really is the epitome of the elite power structure in this country benefiting from early information that the rest of us don't have and the rest of us can't have. And so I think, why, I guess my question is why do this? You don't need to do this. I mean, he is not hurting for money and his family is not hurting for money lately. And I'm just curious how this benefits the country as a whole. The idea that somehow you can pay 100,000 US and get early access to what this president's going to say. It's unnecessary, and it really is. It's nothing that's going to be popular except with the people who can afford the 100,000.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you. I'd love to hear from our listeners. 061-895-1019. Do you think that this is something do you think this is problematic or not? Or do you think that it is perfectly reasonable?